This is what is prayer, part 3. If you are not praying for others, then you may be sinning without knowing. If you are not praying for others, then you may be sinning without knowing. Every child of God is ordained to intercede. 1 Samuel chapter 12, verse 23. Prayer promotes divine remembrance and intervention. 2 Samuel chapter 7, verse 27. Your prayers cannot make sense in spirit sense if it is not regarded by God. Your prayers cannot make sense in spirit sense if it is not regarded by God. No matter how long and how loud you pray, if the Lord does not regard or recognize it, then your speech is empty and fruitless. 1 Kings 8 28. Prayer opens your eyes to the things of the kingdom and the king in the kingdom, which is God. Prayer opens your eyes to the things of the kingdom and the king in the kingdom, which is God. 1 Kings chapter 8, verse 29. Your prayers won't produce result until God pays an attention to it. Your prayers will not produce a result until God pays an attention to it. First Kings chapter 30, First Kings chapter 8, verse 30. Prayer turns your defeat into a weapon with which you can win more than you imagine. First Kings chapter 8, verse 33. Prayer opens the heavens and qualifies you for the showers of blessings which only God can produce. First Kings chapter 8, verse 35. It is important to pray with understanding. If you pray without the full knowledge of what you are saying, then you may end up implicating yourself before a spirit unconsciously. First Kings chapter 8, verse 38. Prayer is a way of proclaiming the great name of our God, his mighty hand and his outstretched arms. 1 Kings chapter 8, verse 42. Prayer brings an assurance of victory. 1 Kings chapter 8, verse 44. When God hears you, then he sustains you, and God can't hear you unless you pray. 1 Kings chapter 8, verse 45 and 49. Once again, when God hears you, then he sustains you, and God can't hear you unless you pray. Prayer is a game changer. God can turn the table against your enemies if only you can pray. First Kings chapter 8, verse 48. Prayer needs a feedback. Don't pray and then rush out as if someone is chasing you. Wait for a feedback. Prayer is supposed to be a dialogue between you and the Father, a platform where he can speak to you and you can speak to him. First Kings chapter 9, verse 3. Prayer is an approach to prayer is an approach to God's throne. It is a way of bringing heaven to earth and earth to heaven. By prayer or by praying, we will make heaven visible on earth. First Kings 13, 6. You are not praying until you avoid distractions. A distracted man can play but not pray. A distracted man can play but not pray. If you truly want to pray, then shun every and any distraction before you. Sometimes we may need to shut our door or move to a quiet place just to ensure we are not distracted and to help us remain to help us remain concentrated. Second Kings chapter 4, verse 33. Prayer is an eye-opener. You may never come to the knowledge of what God has done, what God is doing, or what God will do if you don't embrace the weapon of prayer. Second Kings chapter 6, verse 17 to 18. The testimony of praying is simple. It is simply that the Lord heard every bit of your words. Second Kings chapter 19, verse 4. As you pray, don't jump into the subject. As you pray, don't jump into the subject as it is burning in your heart. You must understand that magnifying God is also an important part of the subject of prayer. Magnify his name, exalt him. Then you can now begin to bring your own subject matter into the prayer equation. 2 Kings chapter 19, verse 15. Though we pray to God only, but it is important to note and know that God can use men to answer our prayers. He can send people to us, and the presence of those individuals will show that our prayers have been answered. 2 Kings 19, verse 20, and 2 Kings chapter 20, verse 2 and verse 5. This is the wisdom of God. Don't sell it.